Hi, everybody. Welcome. We're just going to give it a minute or two here to let everybody file in. All right, 7:02, we're going to get going. Thanks, everybody, for joining. We're excited to roll out these webinars for teams registered in our summer league. It's the first time we've done these, but we're excited about the format. We feel like youth soccer can be complex, and we feel like it's a good opportunity to hear directly from the league about initiatives, process, and what have you. So, like I said, we're excited. Thank you for joining. Timing, we're going to be out of here, I promise, within an hour, because we have another one right after this. But I think likely, depending on questions, we'll be out of here by 7:45, hopefully at the latest. Okay. Don't feel like you have to take a bunch of notes. We are recording this. We will also be following up in pretty short order with several links and how-tos and general follow-up from this meeting as well. So again, don't feel like you got to be frantically writing everything down. We have everything documented, and we'll follow up, like I said, in short order. Agenda, real quick, just an overview of TCSL we'll provide in a second. We'll talk quickly just about the U11 and U12 game and how it might differ from other age groups. Talk about schedules. I know that's on everybody's mind. Talk about reschedule process. We're going to spend a little bit of time on referees in that situation, what you need to bring for game day, sideline behavior and management, summer events, who to contact for what, and then we'll wrap with a Q&A. You should have access, if we did this right, I hope we did, to a button in Zoom to ask questions of us. And our goal will be to get to every question. And if we can't, we'll ensure that we follow up, like I said, quickly with anything we don't get to. Okay. Just real quick about us and what our values are. Most of you have likely played in TCSL or are familiar with it. Ultimately, we're here to serve you, and we're here to serve the game. Everything we do is driven by a core set of values. You've probably seen them at our events on our website. Everything we do is driven by these: transparency, competition, sportsmanship, and limelight. And I'll go really quickly what these mean. So from a transparency perspective, we always try to make decisions collaboratively with our clubs in an open, honest environment. Competition is very, very important. We don't want our clubs and teams playing in games that aren't meaningful. We spend a lot of time in terms of team placement alongside our clubs to make sure that teams are playing at the right level of play. Sportsmanship is huge because we believe that the environment, if it's a good one, benefits the kids. So we try to recognize good sportsmanship, and we deal with stuff that we feel like needs to be dealt with. And then limelight, we try to live every day. You've probably seen our social media, team of the week, things of that nature. We want to recognize our clubs. We want to recognize, most importantly, the players. So like I said, everything is driven by this core set of values. And when it all boils down to it, we're trying to provide a league environment with good games where you don't have to travel very far. Good games close to home. So really quickly, just some specifics as it relates to the U11 and U12 game. These players are still young. The culture and the environment ultimately in this, at these age groups is very important. We want the players to come back next year. So culture, sportsmanship, and respect are so important. We're asking coaches to ultimately own the environment and culture of the match. We're asking that there be a habit of meeting and greeting with the referee, make them feel welcome, cover rules and expectations, ask questions, make the referee ultimately a part of the overall environment. Couple rules that have been in effect since the beginning of TCSL and will continue to be in effect. Rules that generally sometimes get applied wrong. There is no heading at U11, and punting is permitted at U11 and U12. Every year we get questions about that, but to set the record straight, want to make sure everybody's on the same page. This type of thing, it would be very beneficial to have as part of that meet and greet with the referee. Okay. Scores, those should be reported by the referees. And you'll notice in our follow-up when we send out information, there will be information about reporting scores should the referee not report them. We will be meeting with referee assigners and articulating expectations about that, but know that there is an option to report them. Scores are posted publicly on the TCSL website. And lastly, I want to get across, we're going to talk about this in just a little bit. There will likely be matches that are played with one referee at these age groups this summer. We are one of the last states that have historically had 3 referees at U11 and U12. Okay. We feel like this summer, our luck may have ran out and we may be in a situation where there are many games at this age group that are played with one referee, excuse me. Okay, schedules. These are set to be released on Friday, March 18th. That's this Friday. Couple things to note. Most of you have been in GOT sports, and for those that haven't, it's new to you, and that's okay. That is where all team administration, rostering, communicating with opponents, reporting scores, everything happens from an administration standpoint. Okay. Schedules will also be public on the TCSL website, but they will be primarily in your GotSport account, and that's where ultimately you will communicate with opponents. And we'll talk a little bit about reschedules in a second. We moved to a primary play night model for this summer. For those of you that have played in TCSL leagues in the past, we had historically used a blackout date process. What we found is that there was such reschedule volume anyways that there was really no purpose in doing blackout dates in the first place. So we moved to a primary play night model for this summer. We'll evaluate how it goes and go from there. But what this ultimately means is that each division has a primary play night. Okay, and you've probably seen this. So when you see your schedule, your games will either be on, will likely primarily be on the primary play night. And then there's also a secondary play night that will also be used in the case of, field availability. Generally field availability is being a reason why we had to move off of your primary night. So if you are a U11 regional boys team, your primary night is Wednesday, your secondary night is Monday. You should expect your games to exclusively be on Monday and Wednesday when you get your schedule. As far as reschedules though, you can play on any night of the week. So if your schedule is Monday, Wednesday, and you ultimately have a conflict on one of the Wednesdays, you can move to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Tuesday. It does not matter, pending mutual agreement of both teams and the home club to ensure that there's field availability. Okay. So even though we're releasing a schedule with primary and secondary play nights, teams should know that they can reschedule to any night of the week. The reschedule process will open upon schedule release this Friday. There is documentation that we'll be sending out about this process. But as I mentioned prior, all communication will happen within GotSport. So you'll be able to communicate directly with your opponent should you have a conflict. The home club needs to secure field availability. They will then submit the request to TCSL for approval, and then we ultimately approve. Okay. We can't stress enough that on the front end of receiving your schedule, so as close to March 18th as possible, you should evaluate your schedule and begin any reschedules as soon as possible. Don't wait till March 30th to initiate the process, because we want all reschedules complete by April 1st. Again, can't stress that enough. Start the process early. Follow whatever process your club has in terms of securing facilities. And then there's a pretty orderly process that you'll see in this documentation about how to do that from within GotSport. Okay. I am going to pause quickly to check out the Q&A to see if I can cover any of those now. Got a good question about the rules. Just to confirm, heading is allowed at 12U, and also confirming there is no build out line. Great question. Heading is allowed at 12U, and there is no build out line at 11s or 12s. Okay, the build out line is only in effect at U9 and U10. Good question about why punting is allowed, but heading is not at U11. We follow the U.S. Soccer mandate to the letter of the law with no further modification, and that's what U.S. Soccer has said. We agree in principle with what you're saying, and this might be something that we modify in the future, but for now, punting is allowed at U11. Good question about referees. So with one referee, will the home club provide side refs, or will there be no side refs? How does offside get applied? Offside will be in effect. However, each team needs to provide one club linesman to help with the ball in and out of play only. They cannot call offside. Offside is in effect. That's why we're going to be meeting with our referee assigners and encouraging that generally adults are in the middle if one referee is used. Whether that's actually what happens in practice, I'm not entirely sure, but that's what we're going to stress. Good question though. Offside is in effect. If we are the home team, should we be prepared to have volunteers? I think I just covered that. Let's see. I'm going to move on. Good questions. So I mentioned GotSport before. This is a view into what the interface looks like. And we're going to be providing documentation. Some of you have been in this already from the fall for sure. But here you'll see, for example, the chat bubbles, which is highlighted. That's where you can generally chat with opponents. And here's an example of how the chat happens within the system. You will also see contact info for opponents. However, we'd like to stress that we want chats in the system so that we can help mediate or navigate any situations that might come up. If there's no chat, no history, it's hard to help. Okay, so we want all of the communication to happen from within the system. I'm just going to reaffirm here. I did get a question. On Friday, will the schedule have already been vetted by coaches, or will there be a 1 week reconciliation process? There's actually a 2 week, might even be March 18th to April 1. There's a 2 week, call it a reconciliation process. It's really a process to reschedule any matches that you need to reschedule. Also in Got Sport, we'll talk a little bit about game day procedures in just a minute, but this is where you'll set your match day roster. This is where you're going to ultimately get a game card to bring to the field. So just to give you an idea of the types of tasks that you ultimately be doing in the system. Also got a question with the ref shortage. Any chance of lowering the age required to 12 instead of 13? No, there's not. It's a U.S. soccer requirement that's far above our pay grade, but I understand the sentiment for sure. Okay, good segue. Referees. Referee numbers are down this year. There are also more children playing, which is a good problem. Also means that there's more games. So we are we're hopefully setting the expectation that this summer could look different from a referee perspective. Okay, we've illustrated some of the numbers down below. I won't go too deep into those, but our office has been working pretty strategically in terms of trying to increase these numbers. We still are, but we're letting you know that some alarms are going off. This is a pretty big threat to the game, and it will continue to be a priority for our office in terms of how we support referees, support referee certification, support our clubs in navigating that process, what have you. Okay. I think this is a really, really good illustration. Two dads are watching a soccer match. One says, which one's your kid? Why? Wanted to tell him how rubbish he is. Can't say that he's only a kid. How would you like it if I said that to your kid? You've done it all game. Who's your kid? The referee. Okay. These people that are out there are choosing to be out there instead of doing something else. And we need them out there. Cannot stress it enough. Communicating to your parent group the current situation with respect to referees, but also communicating to your parents what proper behavior looks like. Okay. Give these referees a chance to referee. Many of them are inexperienced. Many of them are going to be doing games that if we had more, they probably wouldn't be doing that type of game, but we need them to do games. Okay. So I just ask from the bottom of my heart, this is an issue, those of you that know me, is near and dear to me. Please communicate proper expectations with respect to referees because they're going to be stretched this summer. So I do have an ask. I do think there's likely to be rescheduled matches due to lack of referees this summer. However, if every team on this call committed to having 2 individuals go through the referee training, that whole dynamic changes. And like I mentioned before, we must treat referees with dignity and respect, or there simply won't be any matches. And that for us, and that for anybody that loves soccer and loves, what it offers our kids is scary. So our ask, it's basically 3-pronged. Communicate these circumstances to your parent group. I believe that if more people were aware of the situation, behavior likely would be changed. Be a part of the solution. My ask, I mentioned before, if everybody here committed to having 2 individuals, maybe one minor and 1 adult go through the referee training, the whole situation changes. Okay. And then lastly, just please be empathetic with those referees that are out there. They're going to be stretched. They're going to be working a lot of games. Many of them are probably going to be working games that are probably a little outside of their comfort zone. But we need them. And you have the the ability to impact this in a positive way. Okay. So from a game day perspective, what do you need? You ultimately need two things that you have to bring: a photo roster, also called a game card, printed from GotSport, and then all adults must have a printed U.S. Club Soccer physical card and be on the photo roster, as I mentioned before. And then lastly, if the referee does not report the score, we do ask that teams, team managers or coaches help us get the scores in the system properly. Okay. Just looking at the chat here. Will more referee clinics be offered? Possibly, depending on demand. There are quite a few that are out there already. And they're located all over the metro. I'm new to this. Where does one go to get trained as a ref? Good question. That'll be a part of our follow-up. It will absolutely be part of our follow-up in terms of how you actually go about it. Okay, so these are those items. On the left is a U.S. Club Soccer coach pass. By having this pass, it means that they've ultimately fulfilled all of the requirements as set forth by our governing body, U.S. Club Soccer. And that includes very important things like, are they safe sport trained? Have they passed a background check? Have they gone through a rigorous disqualification review to make sure that they're not on any suspension lists? So the safety of players is of our utmost concern. It's very, very important that all adults have one of these passes and that it's ultimately shown to the referee. How do you get the coach's pass? Somebody just asked. Your club will issue the pass. So if your coach does not have one of these, that is a question for your club. Okay. Does the team manager need one of these passes? Yes. It would be it would be good to have. In the case of the referee issuing a red card to the head coach, there needs to be an approved adult on the sidelines, at which point a manager could fill in. What if a coach is filling in, they won't be on the roster? They actually should be on the roster. And there's a way to do that within GotSport. I'm gonna pause there. Just looking at the questions here. Is there, what week is the first game? That one's easy. You can take that one. May 2nd. First week of May is when the season starts. Will the player passes used during the fall 2021 season be accepted in spring 2022? Yes, they will be. So there's the soccer year ultimately runs August 1 to July 31. So yes. Is there any allowance to let parents referee if the games need them, assuming they go through the training? I know a few that have the experience and would be open to it, but don't want to miss their kids' games. If it's a matter of not having a game and having a game, yes. In fact, it would be good if every team, like I mentioned before, had one or two people that were just certified in case they were needed. So yes, not our first choice, obviously, but Molly, who asked that, it's a good question. But we would be fine with it in the situation of game versus no game, as long as it was communicated to both teams. Do managers need to have a U.S. Club Soccer Pass? Asked to repeat. Yes, they do. All managers need to be appropriately registered with U.S. Club Soccer, and it would be prudent to carry it with you in case you are needed to step into a sideline. Okay, I'm going to move on. So sideline management, it obviously goes hand in hand with our conversation about referees. But as team leaders, we ultimately look to you to help us foster a culture of respect. To put it simply, we expect the best of our membership, and we do not tolerate disrespectful language or actions at any of our events. And it's probably pretty obvious what that includes: abusive, intolerant language or behavior directed to any participant, coach, spectator, or referee. We will, and I'll touch on this in just a moment, we will work collaboratively with our club leadership when there are incidents, and we will follow up on them. Okay. More information is coming on 3 initiatives. Some of you might be familiar with the Soccer Parenting Association and the Sideline Project. We're going to be rolling that out the month of April. It's a 15-minute course, and there will be actually some contesting around it in terms of a competition between clubs as far as how many parents actually go through this course. We will also be rolling out our own code of conduct, and then perhaps most importantly, rolling out a process for providing feedback about matches that you're at, so that we can ultimately uphold and enforce our code of conduct. Got a couple questions about whether to go digital with respect to rostering or player cards. Yes, for sure, conversation. There's also challenges with that we want to get a little more information on, and to ensure that the technology works the way it should. We've seen digital player cards in this marketplace be a challenge, and we don't want to repeat past mistakes, but it is on our radar. But for now, we've stuck with a paper model. Just looking at the chats here. Do we get the coaches' passes on GotSport? If so, where? Yes, you do. That's a question for your club administrator, who can ultimately issue the pass to you. There's some other questions about the ref training and what it's like and how long it is and how much it is and all that. We will provide detail around the referee training in our follow-up. That's really exciting to know that there's what appears to be so much interest. So look for that from our follow-up. Okay, real quick, I want to talk through summer events. We have 2 main events that are relevant to U11 and U12 teams. The first is our State Cup, also known as the Minnesota Cup. It's open to all teams, U11 through U19. There's 2 levels of play, guaranteed 3 matches, June 1st through the 5th, 2022. That's a Wednesday through a Sunday. You'll find that your schedule is generally light on Wednesday and Thursday because this event will be going on. We expect many teams to participate in it. So we didn't want you to be double booked on those 2 days, the 1st and the 2nd of June. It'll be played at really, really nice facilities in the metro, quite a bit of turf, really nice grass fields, good competition, like I mentioned, and a 3-match guarantee. So we're really excited about this event. It's been a hit in the past, and we hope that you consider it. Also really excited to roll out a new postseason structure. Feedback over the years has been, well, we, from our clubs and teams alike, is to have more of a true league playoff feel at the end of the season. So we're really excited, aptly named, given the fact that the other Final Four or basketball is kicking off this week. But ultimately, it's a it's an event that qualifies automatically the top 4 teams in each age, gender, and division. So you have to qualify for it, and you'll ultimately opt into this event. It'll be played July 22nd through the 24th. And like I said, it'll be 4 teams per age, gender, or division. So there'll be 4 teams at TCSL National, 4 teams at TCSL Regional, 4 teams at TCSL State, and 4 teams at TCSL Cities. And the actual finer detail with regards to how teams qualify, that's in the rules and on our website. You're welcome to take a look. But we're really, really excited about this because it provides an avenue for the teams that do qualify to compete and meet at the end. Okay. So we will have ultimately a opt-in process. We're assuming that most, if not all, will choose to do this. But by mid-June and more to follow on this, there'll be a process to actually tell us that, yes, we want to do this. You won't have to pay, obviously, at that time, because you won't know if you've qualified. But teams should have this event on their calendars should they qualify. That's wrong. Actually, it's July 22nd through the 24th, 2022. Bear with me. That's going to bother me. So I'm going to fix that real quick. There we go. July 22nd through the 24th is where that event or when that event will be held. Okay, so mark your calendars. It's a qualification only event, but we're really, really excited to bring this to the Twin Cities for sure. Okay. Where's the state cup held? Good question. We'll be announcing that shortly. It'll be in several sites. Eden Prairie will be our headquarters. We'll also be using some turf fields in Maple Grove. We'll be using the Sonic Complex turf in St. Paul, and Shakopee. Will be a site as well, and possibly one more. Okay, so it'll be all over, but really, really nice facilities. So just quickly, with regards to who you should go to if you have questions, we wanted to at least touch on some of that because we're entering the time of year where there's going to be questions about stuff. So from our perspective, I'll begin by saying you're always welcome to reach out to us. However, your club administrator or club director of coaching probably can provide an answer either quicker than we can, or it'll be a task that's better suited for for them. But from our perspective, if you have questions about our events, if you have questions about registering for our events, club DOCs and club admins, we are their go-to resource when they have questions. Coaches on the call, if you have questions about coach education opportunities, or questions about a course coming up or what have you, that would be something for that you could for sure address directly to us. And then lastly, when there's sideline issues and there's follow-up and more to follow on that, but that we would be involved in that as well. Okay. Club administrator, bless them, they work very, very hard. If you have a player that's not showing up on a roster, it's probably because they're not registered appropriately with U.S. Club Soccer. So that would be somebody you go to for that. Rescheduling and field needs, every club is different. In some cases, it might be the DOC that's handling that. But you'll go to one of them during the reschedule process. Your club admin generally is your go-to resource for any GOT sport questions. DOC, we have what's called the club pass, flexibility to move players up and down from within your club. If you need to secure guest players from within your club, the DOC is generally the right person to ask. If you have questions about team placement, why are we playing at this level? Your club DOC is a good person to ask. Okay. Pause there real quick. Let me just kind of filter through here. Somebody asked for our league rules to be downloadable. We use a shared file system called Box. I think so. I'll make a note and we'll try to make that happen. Let me look to make sure I'm not missing anything else. Just to clarify, in the event of one referee, the home team provides 2 sideline refs to help with out of bounds. So any parent can jump in for that? Yes. That is correct. Any parent who can be semi-mobile down the sideline can do that. Nathan asked a good question about the Final Four. To clarify, if you have 2 brackets, such as A and B, is it the top 2 from each or the top 4 combined? Not sure I found that in the details. That is in the rules for the event. In the case of your scenario, it would be top 2 from each division. Okay. Dates again for the State Cup, June 1st through 5th, 2022. Any other questions with regards to anything we covered or didn't cover? And I can pause for a few minutes here too. To clarify, parents may work as sideline refs. Now, I want to differentiate. In the case of there not being referees available or there being only one referee on the match, parents can jump in to be what are called club linesmen or club assistant referees. Okay. In that case, all they do is call the ball in and out of play down the touchline. Okay. If you're asking, can the parents, if they're certified, referee their kids' games? I think I mentioned before, not our first choice, but if it's a matter of not having a match or having a match, we're open to that as long as there's communication between parties. But it definitely should not be the norm. Good question regarding State Cup. They'll be scheduled for after school hours. Yes. So the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are just in the evening. Will the content be sent out after the meeting? Yep, including the video of the meeting as well. Okay, I'm good there. Oh my gosh, let me filter through these a little bit. Yes, Jennifer, good question. Are we just going to send it to the people that attended, or are we going to send it out to the coach and manager population at large for this age group? Yes, we'll be sending it out to everybody. We want as many people as possible to get the information. Do the league winners and or Final Four winners get anything, i.e. a cup or medals, maybe t-shirts? Our league winners, we're hoping to bring back league winner t-shirts this summer. Those have been popular in the past. And then, yeah, the final 4 winners will get a cup and medals. And we're also working on a few other things. So we're excited about that as well. Will coaches need an actual picture of themselves for the laminated pass? Yeah, the pretty sure the Don, can you help me? Does the
the coach pass, all the passes, the player passes and the coach passes need a photo in order to be valid. So if there's no photo, they won't be able to be generated.
And you can actually add a coach's photo in Sport?
Correct.
Okay.
The individual can, I think the manager can, and the club administrator for sure can. I'll clarify one thing about those passes too. The coach pass and the manager pass will be generated, and a manager will be able to access those if they download the team PDF of passes.
Perfect. Would there be a possibility of canceling games if teams can't figure out rescheduling? I would say we want to get games in. I think through some collaboration and working together, I don't think it'll come to that. But yeah, we want to get games in. There's 10 games that need to get in.
And kind of to clarify rescheduling too, the reschedule period Matt is talking about, this 2-week period, is a chance for you to look over your schedule for any problems that might come up. Say graduation or prom, or we're traveling that weekend to a tournament and we don't want to play games on Monday, things like that. Once that period closes, reschedules during the regular season really should be used for like weather, other things like that. We really want you to be proactive and look at your schedule and handle any availability issues ahead of time if possible.
Exactly. The team is playing up in league play. Will they qualify for the actual age in the Final Four or their chosen age? They'll qualify based on their league, the age they're playing in the league this summer. How am I doing on time? Okay, 7:45, pretty good.
Looks like we had another question about passes versus the paper rosters. The paper roster, the paper match day roster serves as the player passes. The coaches and other adults on the sideline with your team need to have their physical individual pass with them at all times.
As managers, is there a way for us to see the status of our refs for our games, or is that above our pay grade? I laugh because I'm sure you're getting paid for your job. Possibly, depending on the setup within your club, that'd be a club specific question, as the clubs individually handle the referee assigning.
Sarah, to answer your question of rescheduling outside of the reschedule window, aside from weather or ref issues, we ask that it would depend on the issue. We're always open if something comes up. But we would, don't just reschedule for the fun of it. There's a lot of logistics involved for everybody.
Yeah, we provide a pretty generous window to reschedule matches, and our expectation is that people take that window seriously. Because there's a lot of stuff that we want to get kind of set, so referee assigners can begin to work on their assignments and what have you. If games are constantly moving, it's chaos, and we don't want chaos. The reasons that are and aren't acceptable to reschedule. Last season, our team was asked to reschedule nearly every game. Is that typical? Say it's not typical. I think it's typical and pretty standard for, on an average team to reschedule a couple matches. I would say what you described there is not typical. We asked that during the window, there is an appreciation for the requests that you might get and to work with them to reschedule. Outside of the window is a different story, to Don's point earlier.
I've seen a couple of questions come up about players who aren't on games and aren't at games and how they should be handled on the game day card. You should be setting an attending roster for every one of your games. So you should actually be setting an active roster for the players who are going to be at that game and leaving off the players who aren't at that game. And that'll be in the documentation that we send out. We actually have a good video that covers exactly how to do that.
I want to be clear. Sarah asked a question. So we can still reschedule after the reschedule window closes outside of weather ref issues? I'm going to answer that with a no. I think Don was indicating that potentially there's something that's totally outside of control of anyone, and that's a reason to reschedule. But no, our reschedule window should be taken seriously, because the opponent outside of that reschedule window might say, no, we're good. We're providing pretty good, a pretty healthy window to get things done. And we expect that the reschedules are taken care of during that window. Regarding the Final Four, I just want to make sure this is an opt-in tournament, not an opt-out type situation. Yeah, we're gonna solicit on the form. It'll probably have both options, quite frankly, but it'll be something you actually have to press a button to be considered for.
Matt, we have a question about the last week of league play.
Yep. Team should expect to wrap up just prior to the July 4th holiday. When you say all adults must have a pass, it's only for the player side, correct? Yes, that is correct. What do we do if we have a last minute player cancellation, therefore player roster for that game is no longer current? Do we manually adjust by crossing off or simply leave as is? Yeah, in that case, you can just cross off the player. No problem. If a team opts out of the Final Four, does the next team in line, such as the 5th place team, get included? Yes, that's exactly how we would handle it. Think we are going to wrap. I know there are a few things that we maybe did not get to, but we'll make sure that in our follow-up we ensure that we indicate or cover the things that we didn't get to. Don, anything else?
For the most part, I think we're good.
Perfect. Cool. Well, we appreciate everybody making the time. I know people are busy. We're really excited to get schedules out on Friday. Know that you have help if you need help. And we can't wait to be on the field here in just a couple short weeks. Thank you very much, everybody.